Hello, NAS 3013. This is your instructor, Amy, and this week we are talking about the Athabaskan language family. So, the Athabaskan language family has a really large area extending from Alaska across Canada all the way to Hudson Bay. Through British Columbia and into Washington State, Oregon, and California. There's also a large area in the southwest United States, including Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, Colorado, Oklahoma, Utah, and down into northern Mexico. So the Athabaskan language family has a huge range across North America, but it is not a continuous range, which is very interesting. Okay, so here are the languages of the Athabaskan language family. Remember, as always, that there may be multiple dialects of these languages, or certain dialects may be so close that they're considered one language. And this list breaks up the languages by the state or the province in which they are found. So, for example, in Alaska, there is Gwich'in, and there is Tanana, Middle Tanana, Tana Cross, Upper Tanana. So there's all these different languages, and there's languages in the Yukon Territory, the Northwest Territories, British Columbia, all of which are in Canada. In Washington State, you have a couple Athabaskan languages. In Oregon, you have several more. In California, you have multiple Athabaskan languages. One of the most famous Athabaskan languages is Navajo, which is found in Utah and Colorado and Arizona and New Mexico. And then you have the Apachean languages, Apache. So there's Mescalero, Chiricahua, Jicarilla, Plains Apache. And these are found throughout Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, Texas, Oklahoma, and in Mexico. And I know several people are working on Athabaskan languages for their language sketch, including Navajo and Apache. Okay, so cognates of Athabaskan languages. If you click this link in the PowerPoint, it brings you to this website, which has a cognate list of languages, words from Athabaskan languages. So a cognate, if you remember from the Module 1 stuff, are words that are the same meaning in two related languages. So an example would be like the word for cat in multiple languages. Here they have numbers, the words for man and woman, dog, sun, moon, water. So common words that every language is going to have certain colors, certain verbs like eat or to hear or to sing. And then it has the French underneath it right here. And then we see that word, like the word for two, in Jicarilla Apache, in Western Apache, in Navajo. And so those are the three Apachean branches right there. And you can see that they're very similar. Na-ki, na-ki, na-ki. Very similar. And then we have the Northern Athabaskan languages. You notice the N trend continues till we get here. And then the Pacific Coast Athabaskan languages, so this would be all along California, Washington, Oregon, British Columbia. And so you can see the word for two in these languages. And for the most part, that N trend continues, except for in a couple other places. And then Haida and Tlingit are much more distant versions of Athabaskan languages. You can see they're very different. So this cognate chart, what it does is it helps us see how closely related two languages are. Just by looking at these words for the numbers, we can see that these three languages are very closely related, whereas these languages are a little more different. And the further you get to like these distant relatives, the words get very different. And a lot of times you can kind of see group languages as more closely related or less closely related using something like a cognate chart. So here are some written examples of Athabaskan languages on different signs. This one says Student Services Building. This one right here, you can see, and it says Dene on it. And so they use a Latin alphabet, so the same alphabet that we use for English, with diacritics, so these little accents over the top, and then some of the words have accents under the bottom. And they use like an apostrophe symbol for the glottal stop, and you can see that over here on the Student Services Building. They have O with the barred L, T-A, apostrophe, I with an accent, and that apostrophe is standing for the glottal stop. As a reminder, glottal stop is a full-on letter in a lot of North American languages. In English, it's just a sound that we happen to create in between two vowels. Like if you say O, that little click in between the and the O is the glottal stop. If you put your hand on your throat and say oh, you can actually feel it. And that little click right there in between the and the O, that's the glottal stop. And that is a required letter sound in many North American languages, including Athabaskan languages. So here are some spoken examples of Navajo, and all of these underlying things in every PowerPoint is a link. So if you click here, you can hear Navajo from this YouTube video. And if you click Gwich'in, you can hear some Gwich'in. If you click Western Apache, you can hear some Western Apache. And then here is Sarsi, and if you remember, this was on that list of very distantly related Athabaskan languages. So I recommend you click all of these links and listen to spoken examples. Okay, so here are some linguistic examples of Athabaskan languages. This is a sound chart for Navajo. So if you're doing your language sketch on the Navajo language, you probably have something very similar to this that was in your language sketch. So it has some very common sounds like P, T, and K, which we have in English. But if you notice, there's more than one version of the letter T. And then they have this whole line right here, which is like T and L together, and it has the barred L, which is that sl sound, and regular L. And then it has the T sound, like T and S together, like in the word cats. T's. And then you have three versions of that: an aspirated version with a little puff of air, an ejective version with a very strong puff of air at the end, S and Z, which are common. These symbols are for the ch sound, like in Charlie, and they have three versions of ch. They have regular ch, aspirated chop, like chop, and then an ejective ta. They have sh and je, which we have in English because of French. We have je, like garage. And then they have these very back sounds as well. We have H, so, but they have a labialized H, hua, and then this h, kind of like a German sound right here. And then they have E, A, O, and ah, and they have nasal versions for the vowels as well. So very interesting. There's even a glottalized version, like an ejective of M and N, and I have no idea how that would sound. And an ejective Y, yeah. So some examples of morphology. So here I'm continuing with Navajo as the example. So in Navajo, there's no tense on the verb. Time is expressed in other ways. So instead of adding a ed or an ing to a verb to express when something is happening, you put a different word somewhere else in the sentence, and that's how you do it. This is not completely rare. Chinese does very similar things. Navajo is polysynthetic, which means that the verb is the center, the main part of the sentence, and you can add prefixes and suffixes to the verbs to do all kinds of things. And then Navajo has something called evidentiality, which means that you must grammatically state on a verb how you know certain information. For example, if I say, Missy ate my lunch, I have to be able to say how I know that. And so there will be most likely some kind of prefix or suffix that you add onto the verb that lets the people know how I know that. Either I know it from firsthand, like I saw it. That would be like I saw Missy eat my lunch. That would be one prefix or suffix. I heard that Missy ate my lunch. That would be a different prefix or suffix. Everybody knows that Missy ate my lunch. That would be a different prefix or suffix. So we can express the same ideas in English, but it's not required, and it's not grammatical, like a prefix or a suffix that we put onto a verb to explain this. Evidentiality is common in a lot of languages. It happens in Turkish and others, and it makes me I'm interested how people tell lies in those languages. Of course you can lie because you can use the wrong suffix on purpose, but I wonder if there's like nuances to it. Nouns in Navajo, nouns are not required to have a complete sentence. Since the language is polysynthetic, you can put anything you need onto the verb to make a complete sentence, including the subject, the object of the verb, all of that. There are 3 numbers, so singular, exactly one person, dual, exactly 2 people, or plural, 3 or more people or things. But it's not inflected on the noun. Instead, it shows on the verb. So in English, we put an S on the end of a noun, like dog becomes dogs, so that we know that there are 2 or more dogs that we're talking about. In Navajo, you do something similar, but you don't put the S, the suffix, on the noun. You add it to the verb in your sentence. Because again, the verb, it's a polysynthetic language. The verb is the heart of the sentence, and everything happens on the verb. And really, there's a mixture of that in the world's languages. Some languages do everything on the verb, some do a lot more on the noun, and some it's a mixture of two. Okay, so the current state and the future of the languages, there's a lot of people that speak Navajo. If you haven't checked this out before, I strongly recommend it. Click this link and learn more about Star Wars in Navajo. The original movie has been dubbed, translated into Navajo and dubbed. And it's a big deal. It is a very, very big deal. And so I hope that you get a chance to check that out. Finding Nemo is another major movie that has been translated into Navajo. There's Navajo radio and other media available to learners of the language. There are relatively quite a few people that speak Navajo compared to some of the other languages that we'll be learning about. All right, this is it for the Athabaskan languages. If you have any questions, concerns, let me know.